a woman from the States, Carol Parrish, who had written a book, Messengers of Hope, about walk-ins. And this is considered a walk-in. And she said the most famous walk-in was Jesus of Nazareth at the time of his baptism when he was 30 years old. His soul went on to Shambhala, and the new soul of the Christ took over. It was very powerful and was with him for 3 years. So she helped me to understand what had happened to me. I just realized that in the process of writing the book, An Inner Journey, at the end of the book, there was a marvelous ceremony where little Ginger, my basic self, was christened, and this wonderful Christ presence came and christened her as Catherine. And Catherine was a much more mature inner self. And we began to have a wonderful relationship. Catherine had, besides managing my body, all the systems and senses, she had an amazing way of knowing where everything was. I remember the first time I became strongly aware of this. I had completed the book and had gathered all my papers on my desk, and I had a pen and pad, and I was writing certain notes to keep and throwing the other things away. And one moment I reached for my pen and it wasn't there, and I had been shuffling the papers, so I looked through the papers, and I must have slipped in somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I thought, oh, I had gone to the kitchen for a glass of water. Maybe I had it in my hand and left it there. It wasn't. I came back and started going through the papers. I thought, this is silly. I could use another pen. Then I said, oh, Catherine, you know where the pen is. I just surrendered. Put my hands in my pockets. Came out with the pen. Never would I, somehow I had flipped into that pocket. But this always, all through the years. The other day, someone was asking to see my Curlian photography, and I went where I thought it was. It wasn't. As I came back, I thought, well, I'm wasting time. Catherine, I need it. She took me directly to it. She was in one of the photographs, and there it was. This is my little finger in Curlian photography. And this is my first finger. And after meditating a minute or two, the power grew very much greater.
E eu vejo a Sara como uma figura muito viva, uma criança, apesar de 92 anos de idade, com seu exemplo, e mesmo sendo uma pessoa sábia, uma pessoa com muita experiência espiritual, mas ela está muito junto com a gente, mostra o seu lado humano, que é normal, que é uma pessoa encarnada também. Então isso me deixa mais tranquila. Mesmo não falando inglês, porque eu não falo inglês, eu sinto que eu me comunico com a Sara muitas vezes e também tenho assim, aprendido muito com ela. É sempre um prazer, estar com a energia dela aqui.
Parabéns pra você, essa data querida, muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida. Parabéns pra você, essa data querida, muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida.
Ela continuamente está se desafiando e está revendo suas posturas, os lados que estão rígidos, os lados que precisam ser aprimorados, os lados onde a personalidade ainda continua atuando, a necessidade disso ir a um ponto acima no nosso círculo de evolução. E essa honestidade com que ela, aos 92 anos, se revê, me faz sempre sentir que dá para ir, eu, você, todos.
I became aware in the early stage, because I realized that I was so much more than the physical body in which I lived. And I wanted to know who I am in the way I could understand it. So one morning, this was very strong in my heart, asking. And they say, ask and you shall receive. I saw in my meditation 2 pictures. One, I saw a light bulb. Then I saw electricity sparkling, going through transformers to the source. As I followed it back, this inner voice said, the electricity is always there waiting for the light to be turned on. And the light bulb is very important, because without it, children don't have the light and the warmth. Then I saw the second picture. Our body is like the light bulb. And we are a magnificent electromagnetic spiritual being, going through different levels of consciousness to the center of creation, from which we're never separated. And as I followed it back and came to the 5th dimension, it was like an astronaut. At that point, I could see my whole life. All is going to be the whole thing. And then at the 4th dimension, each level was a teacher of the one below, was my soul. And my soul was my inner teacher of my personality. And at that level, it was like flying in an airplane. I could see all around. I could see where I was going, where I was been, at a much greater level than I could walking in the 3rd dimension, the planet Earth. And that put me in such a strong link with the soul. At that point, the soul began to take me into the 5th dimension, where it went for studying, for its lessons. And there I discovered the magnificent group of souls of which I was a part. And at that time, I was shown that I was the only one of the soul group incarnated. My husband had been earlier, and the soul A had been, and they were there to greet me. And my husband, 20 years before, had gone on, returned to the group. And that I realized then that this group was working through me in the writing. And that my soul was very active in this. So that what was revealed then was developed in my book, Our Link with Higher Energy.